Hey y'all, it's Dave here at Bluebears Games, and for our big non-short video of the week, I said last week that I would probably get to it, and I am. I'm going to do the second Innistrad Midnight Hunt precon for Commander unboxing and upgrade guide. This one is the white-green one called Coven Counters. I'm pretty sure you can tell what it is. I know that there are some deck lists out there, but this is for those who just want to see what they all look like in person. So let me get into opening it, and then I will go over what's in it, and then we'll go into a small upgrade guide for you to see, a direction that you want to go. I've got a little surprise one in there for you. I'm actually kind of excited about it, so I can't wait to get to it. Before I do all that, it's been a busy week here at Bluebears Games. We're doing this video. I actually had to do a rush video for a battle brew for a deck that sold. I had not gotten to it yet. I was going to, and then I did all the commander stuff in between from the last budget battle brew deck video. So between that, the daily packs, going to the doctors because I've got to get some things checked out on my shoulder. I may have my MS under control for a little bit because the summertime has ended, but other things pop up when that happens. So it's been busy here. So I want to thank all of the new subscribers. It looks like in the last 30 days or so, we've gathered another 25 to 30 more. Welcome to what is hopefully going to be one of the few channels that you watch every day, if not every day, at least once a week with the big video. Thank you. I appreciate all the comments. I want to also mention one other thing. One of the reasons why I've been busy is because apparently what I said last week came true, that my statement with Will Help versus a Scarab God was quite a controversial comment because it didn't make a lot of people, it made some people happy and it made others not. That was the point of it, was to get a discussion going with it. I may not have mentioned it in that video, but I'll mention it here. In case I did, it would be a repeat. If I didn't, I apologize. When I said I like the Scarab God, I meant for a zombie tribal build, not specifically for just... Will Helt himself is for a combo piece, so he can be a combo deck without a zombie tribal backup, whereas Scarab God is purely just for zombie tribal. So that's what I was trying to say. I may not have mentioned that in my haste of making the video. I apologize for that. Yes, it is an opinion. Everybody has them. I mentioned that. That is my opinion, that the Scarab God is the better one for my playstyle. So, for those of you that may have been upset with the comment, that's what it's all about. So, let's move on. So, Coven Country. I got that out of the way. I just wanted to make sure that I got that. Alright, now for my favorite sound. You guys ready? I love this sound. Love it. Alright. This is Selesnya colors, green, white. And yes, I'm going to keep using Selesnya. I don't know if I like the way that the other colors names are. So, we've got this. I like how these are. I've saved all the ones I've opened that have this. I don't really know if I can do anything with it, but, it's better to save it instead of throw it away. Alright, again with the box. I've mentioned before how much I like the old boxes. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. I mentioned how much I like the other boxes better. These I don't really like just because they don't fit into a box very well. So, we got a filler here, spacer if you will. And then we got some stuff. This is what the life counter looks like. It's not as cool as the other one. It looks like it is a werewolf. Actually, that is pretty cool. Alright, and then the other side is the shield that they use. We got the insert, which tells you a little bit about the deck. I'm not going to go into that too much. Alright, and then of course the box, which, again, I don't like anywhere near as much as I like the other boxes. Alright, let's open the deck. They did something where the pull tab for the deck is actually easier to use, so I no longer have a problem with it. I just had a problem locating it. And now I'm going to separate the deck so that I can put it in my hand and go over it. Alright. Now, let me see if I can't... Yeah, there we go. Alright, so, the commander is Lenore, Autumn Sovereign, one white, one green, 2 of any, 0/4. That's actually important that the 0 power. Has Coven, and Coven reads as the following on Lenore. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. So it's a small way for green and white to get a little bit of card draw. There's a couple other ways, not many, so that's just, it's +1/+1 counters and then card draw. The secondary commander that they added in is Kyler, the Sigardian Emissary, so 1 white, 1 green, 3 of any for a 2/2. Human Cleric, and whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Kyler. And then other humans you control get +1/+1 for each counter on Kyler. So this one leads to just counters. This one leads to human tribal. Both of them work just as well. I went over the deck and I kind of like Lenore, and that's the build I did for the upgrade, and I'll go over that. So let's see what was in the precon. So we start off with a Dawnheart Wardens. I'll let you read the cards for a second. I'm not going to read all of it off to you like I normally do. You can just read them as I go. I'll make comments on certain ones when I see one I like. Moon Silver Key. This is one I'm going to comment on. So this will replace a lot of mana Sword of Rocks. This one's kind of interesting because it lets you sacrifice it to search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability. So that means like a Basalt Monolith, a Soul Ring, what have you. A Mana Rock is just an artifact that taps for mana. Or a land card. I kind of like the way that works. I'm going to start trying this in my non-budget decks or even in my budget decks and see how I like it. Absent Falconer. Alnock Bondkin. These are Outlast creatures. Elite Scale Guard. As you can see, this is a bolster creature. Everything here has to deal with +1/+1 counters. Orzhov Advocist. And if I'm going too fast, you can just pause the video for a second to read the card if you don't know what it does. Return to Dust, some nice defense. Swords to Plowshares, naturally. Avacyn's Pilgrim, because it fits in the colors, so it's white and green. Beast Within, some more defense. Bestial Menace, for some token creation it gave you. Biogenic Upgrade, more +1/+1 counters. Eternal Witness, so that you can grab stuff back. This is a really good card for a lot of things. Growth Spasm goes and gets a land. I've actually had this in a couple of my budget brews for the commander stuff. Excuse me. It goes and gets a land and puts a creature into play. That sacrifices to add mana. Inspiring Call, always. Anytime you're done with +1/+1 counters, Inspiring Call is absolutely the best card draw card. You have my Elder back in the day. I've actually mentioned this before. Back in the day, this used to be real good card advantage for green when it didn't have it. So you can... When it dies, you can grab up to 2 basic land cards, so that puts them in your hand. And then you sacrifice it. It has its own self-sacrifice to draw a card, so it's 3 cards out of 1. Enduring Scale Lord. Juniper Order Ranger. I believe this is a new card. I can't remember off the top of my head. There's so many cards. And actually, I'm just noticing something. Are these off by a little bit? I think they are. Look how skinny the top border is. These might be shifted a little bit. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and a +1/+1 counter on Juniper Order Rangers. That's a really good card for this deck. Tristani Summoner, a little high on the casting cost for my liking, but whatever. Arcane Signet. The fact that I now have a bunch of Arcane Signets means that I can start suggesting that for other things. And a Soul Ring. These are the mana rocks that it was talking about with the, what the hell is the name of the card? Moon Silver Key. So these are what it can go grab. Swiftfoot Boots to protect your commander. A Talisman of Unity, another mana rock, the green-white one. Bladed Woodland, love these in my budget decks. Might start adding them into if I have a landfall deck that I will be having, which by the way I'm changing my 5-color Golos deck out now that he's banned to a 4-color Omnath, and that's going to go in there probably. Command Tower. Crozen Verge goes and gets a Forest End of Plains and puts them onto the battlefield. Myriad Landscape, more land searching. Path of Ancestry. I'm glad that they started putting these in the precons again. The fact that it was only in one precon for a while sucks. It made this card jump in price, and it shouldn't have. Celestial Judgment. For each different color power among creatures on the battlefield, choose a creature with that power and then destroy all other creatures. It reads destroy creatures not chosen this way. Curse of Conformity, I believe this is new as well. Non-legendary creatures enchanted player control have base power and toughness 33 and lose all creature types. Moorland Rescuer, I believe that's another new one. Sigarda's Vanguard. Oh, flash and flying too. Stalwart Path Lighter. This is a newer one because it has the Coven ability. Yeah. Wall of Mourning. That is a new one. Celebrate the Harvest. This one actually is going to end up going... I'm going to take this out of the precons. I usually destroy... I don't destroy. I usually break apart the precons to take cards from them and put them into other decks that I'm using for myself. This is one of them. So this one searches your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of different powers among creatures you control, and put those cards onto the battlefield tapped. This may go in my new Omnath Locus of Creation. I have to rebuild Golos into something else, and that's what I'm going to do. Curse of Clinging Webs. That's a new one as well, I believe. Let's see. Huron Blade Elite. Notice that a lot of these creature types, when they come up, there's a lot of angels, but there are a lot of humans as well. Kerbis Harvest Celebrant. I believe that's new as well. This one moves counters around. Or not removes them, but... Not moves them, removes and does something. I believe that actually puts it on all creatures. No, this moves them. Okay. Remove them +1/+1 counter from Kerberos. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn to another target creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. So now, it removes them to prevent damage. Okay. Ruinous Intrusion. Exile an artifact. Yeah. More defense. Sigardan Zealot. Somber Wild Beastmaster. Creates tokens. Lots of tokens, it looks like. Angel of Glory's Rise. This is, I believe, this is actually a reprint. Bastion Protector. Commander creatures you control. This is actually pretty good. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. In a partner deck, this is actually more powerful than in a non-partner deck. Citadel Siege. This one's a reprint from, I believe, Khans of Tarkir, or one of the sets from there. It's actually not bad. Cleansing Nova is the board wipe that they chose this time. It's the draw creatures or all artifacts and enchantments. Custody Soulbinders. Dearly Departed. This is actually something I suggested for... What was it? I have a deck, a green-white token deck, I think. Herald of War. Our Reckoning, the other board wipe that they chose, which has got Convoke. Knight of the White Orchid. That's probably going to go in a lot of new precons that WotC puts out with white in it, just because it's white land fetching. Mikaeus the Lunarch. You know, I'm hoping, and I doubt it, that one day we're going to get a precon. I was hoping in the zombie one we'd get it. The other Mikaeus, but, you know, that's just asking for too much. Odric, Master Tactician. Riders of Gavany. And we got to pick up the other pile. And I got to pick up the pace. I'd like this to not be a 40-minute video. Unbreakable Formation. Victory's Envoy. I'm just going to read them off to you. Champion of Lamholt. Death's Presence. I don't really like that card. That would come out. Gyre Stage. I do like that card, in this, especially in this kind of deck. Kessig Cagebreakers. I believe that turns into a werewolf, doesn't it? No, it just creates wolf tokens. Shamanic Revelation. You'll notice that I suggest this a lot in a lot of my budget commander deck videos because it's a good card draw for green. Somber Wild Sage. Verdoris Gearhulk. I would probably switch that out, even though it's not bad for this deck. It's kind of high costed for what it does. Wild Beastmaster. What a generic name. Heron's Grace Champion. More humans. Sigarda, the ruler of all humans, pretty much. So you and humans you control have hexproof. Helps protect humans. Lifecrafter's Bestiary. I wish this was in every precon that had green. It makes the most sense. Canopy Vista. It's a fetchable because it has the 2 land types, but it comes into play tap if you control 2 or more basic lands. Exotic Orchard goes in every precon ever made now. Fortified Village. Sungrass Prairie. Temple of Plenty. Rogue's Passage to make things unblockable. Selesnya Sanctuary as the bounce land. Temple of the False God, for some reason, goes in every precon. I hate them. And it looks like from there, we're going to have some forests and some plains. And then, of course, we're going to have that really thick version of the commander. Really thick. And then the tokens are Snake, Wolf, Elephant, Knight, Centaur, Rhino, Wolf, Beast, Eldrazi Spawn, and then Soldiers, Spiders, Wolves, and Spirits. So that's what's inside. When you open the package, this is what you can expect out of the Coven Counters precon. So I'm going to leave this guy here and go over some things that we can do for upgrades. And I'm going to pause for 1 second so I can get ready for that. Alright, so in the upgrade section, you know, I always start with lands. So let's do that real quick. So for lands, in a 2-color deck, it's pretty simple. You find all the things that are dual land of the colors, so green-white. So for green-white, I'll give you them. You've got Savannas, which is the OG dual land. You've got Temple Garden, which is the shock land. Windswept Heath, which is the fetch land for green-white. Sun Petal Grove, which is the check land. Brushland, which is the pain land. Wooded Bastion, which is the filter land. Bountiful Promenade, which is the battle bond land. Then you've got the green-white pathway. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. So those are just, minus the ones that are already in here. Those are the dual land style things that you can put in here. Then you've got things like Riftstone Portal. If you can find a way to get this land specifically into your graveyard, that makes all of your lands dual lands for green-white. You've got Lemuria Sky Ruin, so you can keep bringing things back, especially if things put +1/+1 counters on it and they're creatures. You can have them enter the battlefield and put the counters on. You've got, obviously, a Gaia's Cradle, because this is a creature-based deck. Not really tribal so much as it is a counter, like +1/+1 counter tribal. You've got Cave of Temptation. I know it's just a common, but it's from Modern Horizons, and it does exactly what you want to do in this style of a deck. You've got Crawling Barrens. It's not really... How do I put this? So it's great because you can just keep putting +1/+1 counters on it. So if you have things that benefit you for having +1/+1 counters, it can put them on itself and doesn't have to become a creature, so it can stay in play as a land, but with +1/+1 counters on it. What else we got? Forge of Heroes will help you in this deck. Gavany Township will put +1/+1 counters on each creature. What do we got? Karn's Bastion helps you proliferate. Obviously, anything that helps you proliferate in a deck like this, absolutely wonderful. And then you have Nesting Grounds, which helps you move the counters around from creature to creature. So those are just a couple of the suggestions of lands that I would throw in here to help upgrade the deck a little bit. Obviously, your budget will dictate what you can and can't do. The creature section, it's going to be a little different. I'm sorry. No, we're not going to go to creature. We're going to do ramp. For any green deck, ramp is pretty simple. You don't really need mana rocks in a green deck. You might want it, depending on what they are, but for the most part, you've got spells. And here's the funny thing. White actually helps you with it a little bit, too. So my suggestions are to change out some things for a Rampant Growth. Nature's Lore and the 3 Visits. Those are just... Almost every green deck should have those in them as good ramp. You've got Farseek. White gives you access to the following. Tithe. I know it's expensive because it's on the reserve list, but it can go get you 2 planes. Gift of Estates. It's White's version how they do ramp, which is to go get, I believe it's a planes card if your opponent controls more lands than you. Spoils of Victory will help you go get planes as well if you need to. And then I don't normally suggest this card. Lately I don't suggest it at all, but I normally don't suggest this until the enchantment section. But you actually can use land tax in this deck to its fullest extent because you're 2 colors, so you're going to have a lot more basic lands in here. So those are a couple of the ramp suggestions that I would upgrade into the deck if you could. If you have room for them, they'll help make the deck quicker and run smoother. Now for the creature section. I'm going to get to this. This one's going to probably take the longest because there's a lot of things to explain, but I'll go into it. So I want to explain to you the thing that I'm excited about. If I'm going to do this deck, and I may, just for the fun of it, may actually make this one of my green-white actual deck. I want to try Ooze Tribal. All right? Hear me out. Ooze Tribal. With Ooze Tribal, There are 12 total ooze creatures in the game. All right, that doesn't include changelings, just ooze. So there are 3 creatures that you can start it with. I think they're all mythics. You've got the new Abbey Progenitor Ooze, you've got Biogenic Ooze, and you've got Ochre Jelly. All those are newer. I think they're all mythics, and they can synergize together along with all the other oozes that are in the game. They all provide counters for each other. They all buff each other in some way, shape, or form. Or when they die or get targeted, they split into more oozes. So I want to give that a try. I'm calling it now, Ooze Tribal for the win. All right, give it a look, see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna have the three up here that I mentioned. And worst case scenario, if you want to see what the other oozes do, go to the Gather or go to MTG Familiar and just put in creature type ooze and see what comes up. Now, for other parts of creatures with this deck, you can go in a lot of directions. +1/+1 counters are prominent in a lot of ways, all right? So here are a couple examples of how else you can get +1/+1 counters to work. You've got things like Fabricate, which makes things come into play either with +1/+1 counters, or you can create I believe it's a 1/1. What the hell is it? It's an artifact token, but I can't remember what the type is. So with that, you got something like Angel of Invention and the Ilk. Other cards like that have Fabricate. Angel of Invention is probably the best of them all for this kind of a deck. You've got Modular. Modular just got a big bump in the last Modern Horizons 2 set. Things like Arcbound Ravager and all the other modular stuff, they come into play. They have +1/+1 counters on them when they come into play, and then when they die, they move them. So it's like free movement of +1/+1 counters. You can go the life gain route with things like Archangel of Thune, or even if you really want to, you can throw in here just a little something you can do is the what is it? It's the Heliod and the what's the what is his name? The guy that's double X, and then you can put a plus. It comes in play with X +1/+1 counters, and then you can move them. The 2-card combo for Heliod. All right, you can do that. So life gain, and there's other cards out there that when you gain life, put +1/+1 counters on things. So Archangel of Thune and then Heliod. You've got Evolve. Evolve can do it. Now, there's not a lot of Evolve creatures, but some of them are pretty good. Renegade Krasis is one of them. Every time he gets a +1/+1 counter, all your other creatures do too. So it puts out a mass amount of +1/+1 counters. You've got Monstrosity. Polychronos, the older one, the one from Theros. That's a good example of a Monstrosity creature that you can build around. What else is there? There's the landfall guys. So things are not really. This isn't landfall, but just for having lands. How's that? Scoop Mob. This is the one I wanted to mention the most. I put a star next to that one. Scoop Mob, for having 5 lands, just gets 5 +1/+1 counters every upkeep. Or not every one of your upkeeps. And he just keeps growing and growing and growing, and keeps spreading the love of +1/+1 counters. Puts them on himself, and then if you can find a way to spread them out to everybody with other things, and I do have an artifact that will do that. And then, obviously, along with that, Renata. You can have Renata in here so that when all creatures that enter the battlefield, they enter with an additional +1/+1 counter. That's another way to do it. And here's the problem. You can see that there are a lot of ways that you can go. I myself want to try the Ooze Tribal just for fun. Not every deck has to be a competitive monster. I like to have fun with this. So Ooze Tribal it is for me. Alright, some spells. This one's going to be tricky. I saw that they put Unbreakable Formation in there. I didn't see it on the list. That was one of the things I was going to suggest, so it's already in there. So for defense, you've got Board Sweepers. They put 2 in there. You can add Wrath of God style effects as well, as long as you can. You don't want too many Wrath of God effects just because you're a creature deck, but if you can find ways to keep your creatures around and not theirs, that's always good. You can do that with targeted removal. I saw Swords was in there. You can add a Path to Exile. And I believe, what's the other one? The Tribal one, where you can tap something or you can remove it, or the controller creates a 1/1. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there's targeted removal in white. Card draw. So Harmonize. Green's best card draw card. It's 4 to cast for 3 cards. There are other ways. I mean, you saw Inspiring Call in there, but Harmonize is probably the best addition you can make in here. And then, of course, you've got tutoring, and green and white have a bunch of tutors for different things. So you've got things like Worldly Tutor, go get a creature. You've got Enlightened Tutor, go get an artifact or an enchantment. Both of those, put them on top of your library. And then you have what I like to use, Idyllic Tutor, because it's going to put it into your hand. I believe there's a green-white... There is a green-white one that lets you go grab it. I think it's a creature and put it in your hand as well. So tutors for green-white are pretty good. They're not as good as black, but, you know, if you're targeting specific things, the green-white ones are pretty good. Alright, so that's the spell section. On the enchantment side, normally this is my biggest section, but this one's actually not that big in comparison to what normally it would be. We're in +1/+1 counters, so I mean we're going to give you the most obvious choices, which is all the doublers. So that's like doubling season. We're going to go with a branching evolution. It would make an appearance here. That's from the jumpstart. And Primal Vigor is another example of a good doubler for a deck like this. In doubling down on the +1/+1 counter theme, Cathar's Crusade. Every time a creature comes into play, all creatures get +1/+1 counters. I've been talking in my daily pack openings how much I've liked the classes that just came out recently. For this one, I would put in the Cleric class. You've got Felidar Retreat. Felidar Retreat's pretty good because it's got the landfall ability of putting a creature into play or putting a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So it does a lot of things you want. Hardened Scales. For each +1/+1 counter that comes into play, add an additional one. That's pretty good. One that not a lot of people mention in a lot of things, Primeval Bounty. It has 3 abilities. I'm going to have it here for you to look at all 3. I believe it's when a land comes into play, you gain 3 life. When you cast a creature spell, you create a 3/3. Or I have it mixed up. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly how the 3 abilities are worded. 3 very beneficial abilities is gain life, put 3 +1/+1 counters on things, or create a 3/3. I believe they all are. And they all have different ways to work. Again, I'll have it here. What else do we have here? You can, for card draw, every green deck I will suggest Sylvan Library Abundance because it helps you get cards in your hand. If you, again, don't know what that combo is or how it works, just send me a message. I can't keep explaining that. What else do we have here? Helix Pinnacle. If you're going to add doublers for tokens, you may as well add a Helix Pinnacle for an additional win con. Not what I would do. I have other decks I would use that for, but if you want to do it that way, you can. Growing Rights of Vitlamak. It's the poor man's Gaia's Cradle. Why wouldn't you? Let's see here. Mari's Wake helps you double how much production of mana you can do and gives all your creatures +1/+1. It's a win-win there. Path of Discovery. This is an interesting one because it makes it so every time a creature comes into play, you explore, which means you can look at the top card of your library. If it's land, put it in your hand. If it's non-land, put a +1/+1 counter on the creature. So it spreads more stuff. It helps you get cards in your hand, and it gives +1/+1 counters. Aura Shards is good defense. Helps you destroy artifacts and enchantments. And last but not least, I'm going to suggest, as always, in a white deck, Smothering Tithe. There's no reason not to run a Smothering Tithe. So that's the couple of the enchantments that I have as suggestions off the top of my head when I was thinking of writing this one out. For the artifacts, there are not very many. As far as helping +1/+1 counters, I only have a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. The Ozolith, which is what I was talking about with moving counters around and hopefully getting counters on things and getting them off. The Ozolith is perfect for that. Let's see what else here. Lithoform Engine helps it so that you can have targeted or activated abilities or triggered abilities or spells doubled. So it's just a fun little... It's not really specifically made for this deck, but it does help a deck like this. Stronic Resonator copies not activated, triggered abilities, I believe it is. I'll have it up here so you can see which one it is. It's either it's triggered, I think. Yeah, I think it's triggered. But it doubles those, so whenever the Coven goes off, it triggers again. And then every green deck going forward probably can use a Great Henge. Sadly, I have never opened one. Out of, I think, 5 boxes, I haven't gotten a single frickin' one. Every green deck going forward is probably going to be running, if you have it, a Great Henge. It does not hurt you to run it. Specifically if you're running a creature deck, but it's a life gainer. It's a mana rock. In essence, it's a rock. I mean, it's 9 to cast or whatever. So it's not a ramp rock, but it's still a rock. It's a life gainer. It helps you draw cards when you cast creatures. It's just, no reason not to. So those are the only ones that I have off the top of my head. And then the final thing that I'm going to suggest, and there's not a lot of these either. Planeswalkers. There are only a few that would really help a +1/+1 counter deck. Johnny the Great-Hearted, not a bad one. Jiang Yangu, the one from War of the Spark. That one helps you put +1/+1 counters on things and makes things tap for mana. No brainer there. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, puts 0/1s out, and then one of the abilities is to put +1/+1 counters on things. So that one obviously is useful in a deck like this. And then this next one, this may be the next controversial comment I make. I'm going to make it anyway. Every green deck going forward, just like the Great Henge, should probably be playing Renin 7 in it. It is almost akin to being Green's version of Jace the Mind Sculptor. It has 4 abilities. One of them is a 0 ability. It helps you get cards in your hand or into play. It puts a lot of lands into play. It's good for landfall. It's good for ramp. Going forward, I'm hoping I open 7 Renin 7s. Because every green deck I'm going to make going forward should probably have one in there. Maybe I'm not too controversial in that, but I'm making that statement now. So, and those are the only things that I can suggest as far as this deck goes that would help upgrade it to be a better deck. I'm telling you, Ooze Tribal. I'm going to repeat it over and over again. So, anyway, that is my, unboxing of the Coven Counters deck. That is my upgrade guide. I don't know what else I can say about this deck. I may try to make a Ooze Tribal for fun, just to see how it works. Other than that, please do me the favor. Again, I want to thank you all the people who stayed and watched, especially, all the new subscribers. It's actually going faster than I thought it would. And please, keep it coming. So, with that in mind, please do me the favor of liking the video, subscribing to the channel, sharing it out to anybody who may want to watch it. That's all I ask. I'm not asking you, for your firstborn. So, do me those 3 things, and it'll help out the channel. It'll help make it so that I can continue to do this and hopefully get some support from the YouTube side by getting monetized so that I can put more effort into it by getting more stuff to put in and give you more videos. Other than that, that is my time for the week. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, whatever, you can do it in 3 ways. You can go to the Facebook page, bluebearsgames@gmail. I'm sorry. Go to the Facebook page. It's Bluebears Games. Email me, bluebearsgames@gmail.com, or put a comment in the section below, and then tell me how to contact you, and we can go over some things. Anyway, that's all I got for the week. I have a video already done because it was a surprise video. It's a Blues Budget Battle Brews. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that as well. And I will see you not just next week, but the week after that and every day for a daily pack opening. Have a good one. I will see you all then.